Hi everyone, how are we? I hope you've all had a great weekend. Those people in Perth, I hope you haven't been flooded. On the upside, our gardens are all beautifully watered. And if you're down south, and I know we've got a few people down south, my parents have been telling me that there's been very little rain, so I hope that you guys get some very soon. Right, just through a few things. Last week I mentioned about the dates of getting our Collaborate going for our study group for the assignment. Now the assignment is coming up, so it is the 24th, I'm pretty sure. Yep, 24th of June. And so I'm hoping we'll be able to get a study group probably at the end of next week. So looking at the few replies I've had, if you can get onto this pretty quickly, maybe tomorrow or Tuesday, and let me know if you've got preferences. It looks like we could be having it after school around about 5:30 p.m. seems to suit people who can't get to Murray's groups. And we'll record it anyway, but we'll go through the questions on the assignment and I'll go through working on how you can really improve your grades with the assignments and what we're looking for when we're marking it, or what I'm looking for when I'm marking your assignments. I will be marking all of your assignments, so just try to keep an eye on what we're going through. I think it's really important that you're learning referencing, but I also think it's really important that you're demonstrating that you're understanding exactly what we're talking about in this unit. So you will find that you've got to be able to look at the learning theory, apply them to the scenario, and then think about how teachers would be using this learning theory in this scenario and try and give real life examples. But we'll discuss this more at our study group when we get to it. So yeah, make sure if you've got a preference for a day or a time, either Thursday or Friday, I think it will be probably 5:30 afternoon, just let me know. And we'll get on to that and make sure as many people as possible can come, because it's something I'm doing to be able to really develop your understanding, because this assignment leads into the next assignment, as you've probably seen. And if we can get a really good understanding of how this assignment is working, you'll find that it helps you with the next assignment as well. And then the feedback I give on this assignment will really, really, really build in to how you're working on the next assignment. All right, now I'm going to go through the discussion board and just discuss some of your answers and how we could be developing them. Because as you know with learning, everybody learns in different ways. And I know when I write up answers for some people, just the writing, it's very easy to misinterpret the writing, especially if you're a visual or an audio type of person who likes to hear to understand or sort of get an idea of exactly what I'm talking about. So this way I feel like we can really develop your answers a bit more. It was great to see we have pretty much the same number of people posting this week as we had last week. And I've often found with units that the people who keep posting all the way through are the ones that end up doing really, really well in the unit. And you find there gets a bit of a drop off. So especially from the first week to the second week, strangely, but this time there hasn't been. So I'm really hoping we've got a really strong group of students here who are going to participate and get a lot out of this unit, which would be fantastic. It doesn't matter if you're not posting a huge ream of words. What really matters is that I can see that you're thinking about it, you're going to the effort of posting something. And even if it's just conversing with other people, it was great to see that Kylie and Daniel were both in there discussing other people's answers, because it's through that discussion that you build an understanding. And asking questions and collaborating with other people is so important, because that's what you do in a real class, in a classroom. And I think that is the big difference between online and classroom learning. And if you can build those collaborative moments where you're talking and discussing, that's when the learning occurs. And obviously I'm very constructivist theory, as you'll learn about very soon. But I think that way you are building the language, you're understanding it, you're deepening your thoughts, and you're seeing that maybe one person thinks this way, but another person can see it from a different perspective, which is a really good thing to have when you're learning these sort of things. Now, I'm just going to go into the thread. Just excuse me if I'm not looking at you at the moment, because I need to go through and just look at everybody's answers. It was great, Garanji. You were the first person up there again. I'm really hoping that you can get in and come to our Collaborate, because it'd be so good to see you in person and have somebody from India there. As I said in your answer, it would be really good to have a look at some of these questions as an Indian perspective as well as an Australian perspective, and being able, and you were talking about the socio-economic backgrounds, and I'm sure there are things like that in India as well, and I'm wondering if it's affecting education in the same way. I know Meg was talking about Fiji, which I found absolutely fascinating. Meg, great work. And how about the girls' periods and how this was affecting how they were going to school and what was going on there. And then I hadn't even thought of that because I've never really looked at it from a Fiji perspective. But I went in and did some research, and I put the paper up there I found, or one of them. And there is a lot of information on the sanitary needs of girls and schooling and things in Fiji, which I found really amazing. And I'm sure that applies to other cultures as well. Garanji, it might be a really good idea for you to get in and have a look at Meg's post and my answer and have a read of that paper, because you might find that very interesting as well. Then Corinne got in and was discussing gender bias. These are all huge issues that are very, very, very common in school. And it's very important that we start looking at them. That was a great answer, Corinne. Just make sure, because this is just practice for your assignment, you'll notice in your assignment you're meant to have 3 references. So 1 should be the text and 2 should be other references. They could be journal articles that you found in the library, or as I was mentioning to Cameron, they could be maybe Google Scholar articles, because there's some brilliant stuff on Google Scholar as well. So have a look at those, but you had some very good points there. I think we had a few people discussing gender bias, which was good. Andrea discussed socioeconomic as well, and Kylie really got interested in that. Kylie's now in America. I hope you're having a fantastic trip if I can't speak to you. But yeah, that was a great response. Now, up here, Kylie had discussed multicultural education, and it was great that she brought in the Makeitcha Agreement there. It is really good if some of you get a chance, have a look at Kylie's response and get a chance to look at the Makeitcha Agreement. That is what the Australian curriculum was pretty much born from, other than the Review into Education. But the Makeitcha Agreement is hugely important. And all of these are things, the bilingual is also multicultural education. Bilingual education is a huge issue again, especially in Western Australia, where they're making it compulsory that the second language is brought in. And with Indigenous education, I know we had some people discussing Indigenous education. Elise was low socio-economic, that was good. There's Megs, go down. Abigail did low socio-economic. Michelle did gender bias, which was good. Ricky Lee was discussing bilingual and got some great references there. Good girl. Oh, that's awesome. Sarah, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, let me know, was discussing the gender bias as part of culture as well, and the identity that culture brings with it. Where was the one with Indigenous education? I think that was it. I can't remember who did Indigenous education. There is part with bilingual Indigenous education. They are really pushing for Indigenous languages to come back to life at the moment, and bringing them back and recording them, because so many have died and they weren't really recognised as languages in Australia, and now they're becoming. There is even year 11-12 course on Indigenous language now, which a lot of schools, particularly in northern Queensland, are taking up, which is fantastic because it's keeping those languages and therefore those cultures alive, which is hugely important. And that's the same with a lot of multicultural education. Australia is a multicultural country, and so it is very important that those cultures are able to be built still. People have um, many ideas on what it means to be Australian, what it means to be Australian citizen, and how the English language involves in that. But if we look into other countries in Canada or South America or Europe, you'll find that most students have at least two languages. Some have 5 or 6 languages because they're valuing all the different cultures that are in their family. And it is really important for children's self-esteem and for their own value of themselves to build as much cultural knowledge and understanding as they can of as many languages has built into their lifestyle as possible. There is also a lot of research showing that the more languages you learn, the better you become in other areas like music and maths. And music and maths are a language of their own, and coding. So all of these sort of build into each other because it's being able to have a flexible mind that can move from one way to another. We had some fantastic, Michelle got a great research article there, which was really good. Sarah did too. Cameron has done really good referencing. When you're doing the referencing, I've noticed some people are trying at referencing, which is great because I know how hard it is to get back into referencing when you haven't done it for a while. And it is really good. Just keep the APA guide right next to you so that you're looking at all the little bits like where the commas go, where the year names go, that you're not using the full first names, you're only using the surnames, that you're referencing in alphabetical order when you get to the end references. All those little things count when you hand in an assignment. So they seem really minor, and they probably are really minor, but being an academic form of writing, they're really important that you follow the rules and you do it properly. It's just like if you're doing persuasive writing, you have to write that way. If you're doing letter writing, you write that way. If you're writing a CV, it's important you write it in that format. It's the same sort of thing. So with references, just look at every comma, full stop, where everything goes, because it is all very important. Read the APA guides I've got up there for you. Asha, you've got the Evoke Learning, which is fantastic because it's nice and new. I know with the textbook it's a little bit older, so you don't get all that new information in there, but it is good to bring that new information in. Just make sure, I know it's really tempting when you look up there that you find articles that might be commercial. Have a look where they've come from. So if they're trying to support a particular argument or direction, you don't want them there. You want unbiased research articles that are peer reviewed. That means that they usually come from journals or they might come from a government department. Government department articles are really good. The one I put up there for Meg, well, I think it was from UNICEF. Those sort of things are really good because they give you great stats and they're very unbiased because they're trying to present what is actually the case that is going on. They're not trying to sell anything. They're not trying to promote anything. They're not a media article, which is often written by a journalist who doesn't know what they're talking about. So it's very good to have those sort of things up there. And the more we're looking at them, the easier it's going to become for your assignment. Anyway, I hope you have a great week. Sorry I missed a couple of days last week. I had a bit of a stomach bug there. I'm hoping it's finished now, but there is a lot going on. So I know just try to stay healthy while you're studying because I know a lot of you are working full-time as well and have children and small children. Some of you are pregnant, so please look after yourselves. And I hope I'll see you next week, especially at the Collaborate. Okay. Put up the times and days that suit you. Remember that. That's really important. Have a great week and I'll chat to you soon. Okay, bye.